everyone, and welcome to the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world show made for the fans by a fan. I am your host, as always, Richard Tiemann. This is the award-winning Fan Show. Happy Wednesday to you all. It's certainly been a great week so far here on the show. Of course, last night's episode had not one but two great guests from the IFL, BJ Hill, Connor Hollenbeck, and the photo I found in case you missed it today was perfect. It was BJ tackling Connor into the end zone. A great game last week, the only game of week 2, and then of course the power rankings are going to come out today. Not much movement there in case you hadn't guessed it. But then tomorrow we're going to get ready for week number 3, and all 6 teams will be playing. They are all great matchups. I will be at 2 out of 3 of them because to try to do 3 for 3 is just too hard. But nonetheless, I have 2 great guests lined up for tomorrow night for our preview show. But tonight, it is Wednesday, which means that we can kind of do whatever we want here on the Fan Show. Not that I do that anyway because it's my show. I'll do whatever the hell I want to do. Kevin Lyman of the Vans Warped Tour, the founder, the creator, the master behind the madness, will join me. He's coming back to the Fan Show. That's right. He was on about this time last year to talk about the Warped Tour, of course, and the Warped Rewind at Sea, which I asked him, is this going to be the future of the Warped Tour? Well, it certainly kind of feels like maybe, because this is their final full cross-country tour. Now, I feel like the wording there is rather specific. Final full cross-country tour. Of course, we'll clarify a few things with him when he joins me at the bottom of the hour, but maybe that means that they will do half tours. Maybe they will do regional tours. I don't know, but I do know that this is a huge thing because Warped Tour was kind of how I got into concert going. It was my first festival. It was at the Gorge. So I set the bar pretty high for myself, not going to lie. If you've never been to the Gorge, you don't understand. You have to go to the Gorge for really any type of musical event to understand just what is the Gorge, Washington. Of all the dates that Warped Tour travels, bands, artists alike will tell you they count down the days until they would play the Gorge. And then the relationship broke up. It was a messy breakup. The Gorge didn't like Warped Tour anymore and whatever. But, they had it at White River Amphitheater. Not the same. I had never been there for the Warped Tour. I'd been there for other concert events, and it just didn't have that same Gorge feel. And then last year it was in downtown Seattle. And then this year, well, we're going to talk about that as well because it feels like there's not a lot of Pacific Northwest love going on this year, and that's a little sad to me and sad for kind of everybody. I mean, if you look here, it all starts, in Pomona, California, like it normally does. Then San Diego, Mountain View, Ventura, Phoenix, Vegas, Salt Lake, Denver, and then it goes over to the east side. Maryland Heights, Bonner Springs, Dallas, San Antonio, Houston, Nashville, Virginia Beach, Camden, Holmdel, New Jersey, Hartford, Connecticut. And then they have Burgettstown, Toronto, so up in Canada. Cayuga Falls, Cincinnati, Detroit, Tinley Park, Illinois. And then we have Shakopee, Minnesota. I don't know. Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Noblesville, Indiana, the Darien Center in New York, Scranton, Pennsylvania, Mansfield, Massachusetts. There's all these names I don't know how to pronounce. Wangta, Wantagh, New York. I don't know. Columbia, Charlotte, Atlanta, Jacksonville. There's names I know. Orlando, Tampa, West Palm Beach. But nowhere in there did you see Boise, Portland, or Seattle. So we're gonna have a little talk with Mr. Kevin Lyman when he joins me here in about 20 minutes. But those are your 2018 Vans Warped Tour dates for the final full cross-country tour. So that will take us to today's headlines. And the headlines are that there was some movement going on in the NFL today, and a lot of it. I don't know how I really feel about some of the moves that happened. A few of them, though, you saw the writing on the wall, and it was Rich Bauer, member of Team Fan Show, who did an article before the season started last year, and it was my personal feeling, too, that it would be the Legion of Boom's kind of farewell tour last year, and the pieces have already started to fall into place. The first domino fell today. Seahawks trade defensive end Michael Bennett to the Eagles. That's right. It's Michael Bennett has been one of the key components to the Seattle defense. Now, I'm not a big Bennett fan. I think he's like on the verge of being a dirty player. I'm not a big fan. And this isn't even like his off-the-field stuff. I don't care about that. It's just that certain things that he has done on the field I simply frown upon. But hey, that's whatever. Mark Sessler reports that cornerback Richard Sherman is on his way out the door. Defensive lineman Michael Bennett is being traded to the Philadelphia Eagles, of course, per source. And in exchange for Bennett and Seattle's 7th-round pick, Philadelphia will send a 5th-round selection and wideout Marcus Johnson. So pretty even exchange there. But then it gets even better in the world of the NFL. As if that wasn't enough. Well, Sherman is not expecting to play in Seattle in 2018. In fact, his mom, I think, tweeted or posted on Facebook that it's been fun, Seattle. It's going to be heartbreaking to leave, but, the times they are changing. The big blockbuster trade, the news that came out today, and I say blockbuster not meaning like it was a slam dunk deal for both sides. I mean, it was like, what? The Los Angeles Rams traded Alec Ogletree to the New York Giants for 2 picks. And they weren't even like a 2nd or 3rd round. There was a 4th and a 6th round. In fact, it's even more specific. So the Rams have agreed to trade linebacker Alec Ogletree and a 2019 7th-round draft pick to the New York Giants for a 2018 4th and 6th round selection, according to the sources. And that is per Kevin Patra of the NFL.com. And I don't understand it. Ogletree is like the guy on that defense, and you just went and traded him away. I don't know what McVay is thinking, but this is going to be one of those trades that we potentially talk about next year that comes back to bite the Rams. There's always one of those trades, isn't there? Especially on the defensive side of the ball. Anytime a defensive player that you thought was in his home for like the majority of his career, the team goes and trades him, and then let the jokes ensue. Oh, man, really looks like the Steelers could use, James Harrison in their defensive lineup. It's just, I don't understand it. And I'm not I'm a businessman. I'm a small businessman, but I don't own a team. I don't make the coaching decisions. So whatever's going on in LA is whatever is going on in LA. Martellus Bennett was released by the New England Patriots. Jerry Jones apparently reimbursed the NFL more than $2 million. And Von Miller believes the Broncos are title contenders with Kirk Cousins. I still think Kirk Cousins is going to find his way to Arizona. If I'm Kirk, that's where I would go. You've got weapons, right? Why not? Jerry Jones reimburses the NFL $2 million. What is this? As I click the link in front of me. Well, let's see. Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones has agreed to reimburse the NFL more than $2 million in legal fees incurred by the league last season during the Ezekiel Elliott suspension appeal and NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell's contract extension. And this was a source that informed the situation told the NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport. An NFL spokesperson confirmed to Rappaport that the matter between Jones and the league has been, quote, resolved to the satisfaction of all parties after Jones attended a hearing in front of NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell and the league's finance committee Monday in West Palm Beach, Florida. The Cowboys did not comment on the decision. Jerry Jones is the Cowboys, so Jerry didn't comment on the situation. The Cowboys outside of Jerry Jones when it comes to business dealings are irrelevant. So that sentence right there is that's a good one. I like it. The Cowboys did not comment on the decision. Yeah, okay. Jones unsuccessfully spent weeks this past season attempting to slow a new contract extension for Roger Goodell and routinely expressed his anger over running back Elliott's 6-game suspension for violating the league's personal conduct policy. Well, maybe your running back shouldn't be a douche, you know? There's that. Goodell signed an extension early December, and Elliott ultimately served his suspension following a lengthy appeals process that took place over much of the 2017 season. You know, these are the things that happen where it's put into perspective just how valuable certain players are to certain teams. I mean, Brady took it on the chin, didn't he? I mean, he saw the process in the courtroom all the way through. Okay, and that is admirable, I guess, you know? But then when it was said you will be suspended 4 games, first 4, boom, 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 done. Zeke, no. He wasn't sorry. He wasn't remorseful. Even if he feels like he didn't do it, it's like you got to apologize for the look that you just gave not only your team, but the NFL as a whole for even getting into this mess. And I know that for a very, very select few, this kind of thing is well beyond their control because people are going to talk. You know, everybody's got social media. They got a platform of some size, shape, and volume. But I think that you got to at least head it off at the pass, right? You got to get ahead of these things and be like, look, I know that this thing looks bad. I'm sorry. I'm sticking to my guns, though, as far as I'm not guilty of what they say, but I'm still sorry that this is such a bad look for not only my team, my organization, but the league. Because all 3 of those pay your paycheck. Be sorry. Oh, my God. But that's done and over with. I can't wait to see the next thing that people become legal experts on in 2018. It's only a matter of time before that ball drops. And, you know, I think really it's something that is unnecessary. There's a good word for it. I'm more of an expert now on court proceedings when it comes to appeals processes and whatever on a major stage like the NFL than I was 3 years ago. And I really could have done without feeling the way I do about it now. So, yeah, you know, whatever. It is what it is. But the NFL, the machine continues to go. The Combine, we talked last night about it. In fact, I talked to Connor Hollenbeck about it, you know, if he felt that Shaq Griffin's performance either, you know, completely shattered what it is that the Combine is even, like its purpose, or if it just, you know, reinforced what it is. And he thinks that he, you know, broke through a lot of glass ceilings and shattered a lot of, you know, people's, a lot of stigmas and stuff like that about it. So good on him. Calvin Ridley believes he'll be the best wide receiver in the draft. Okay, good on him. Yeah, oh man, all this Seahawks stuff on here. I gotta tell you, it's truly the end of an era. Top landing spots for Sherman, if the Seahawks release him, looks like are the Falcons, the Chargers, and, oh, big surprise, the Patriots. Could you imagine a guy like Sherman, who's very outspoken, going and playing for a team like the Patriots? I don't see it happening. I don't. I feel like there's certain times in life where, like, for example, the WWE, The Rock and John Cena genuinely did not like each other. And so it made for that rivalry that they had going into WrestleMania 28-29 that much better. They made it feel real because it was real. They don't like each other, but they'll work together. But outside of having to work together in the ring, they're not, you know, friending each other on Facebook. They're not BFFs. They're not tagging each other in photos on Instagram. And I feel like that can be translated over to any major sport. there's always a line, right, where the dollar meets your principles or whatever the case may be. And so for Richard Sherman, I could see him toying with the notion of being a Patriot, but I don't think he would take it serious. I think he would hear their offer if it got to that, but I really don't think that he can. I don't think he can be him in New England, if that makes sense. Like Martellus Bennett, Philly is probably a great, or Michael Bennett, Philly is probably a great landing spot for him because he's always played with a chip on his shoulder. He's been very outspoken. And Philly, that's them, right? They're underdogs. They're outspoken. They play with chips on their shoulders. But the Patriots, it's no BS, right? Belichick hates when his players talk to the media. And you got Sherman, who he was like the poster boy for the Seahawks for a period of time when it came to media. I don't see it happening. I don't. I think it's cute. Yeah, I said it. Cute that the NFL.com has put Patriots as a potential landing spot. And I know that if he should sign with the Patriots, should he get released from Seattle, people are going to listen or going to refer back to this episode and be like, man, were you wrong? It's just like, okay. People get stuff wrong all the time. There's people that get paid way more than I do just to get stuff wrong. Skip Bayless, Colin Cowherd. But I'm being honest about this. Like, I would be shocked if Richard Sherman became a New England Patriot. I would. And I'm not saying that definitively 100% he will not become a New England Patriot because stranger things have happened, okay? I just don't believe they will. I think Richard Sherman is going to be his own worst enemy in free agency. Should it come to that? I really do. Because he has made up in his mind where he wants to go. And so he's going to evaluate his options and then pick what's best for him, where he can be Richard Sherman at, because that's what a player like him is. Von Miller, you don't have to worry about that with him. He's just happy-go-lucky, fun-loving guy. He's in the Old Spice commercials. He's doing little dances and whatever. He's always smiling. So I could see him being a New England Patriot because he knows that when it comes time to clock in and go to work, you clock in and you go to work. And Sherman, it's a little different with him. So there's some differences for you to look at. But ultimately, this is going to be a very interesting offseason. It's already started, and it's just getting warmed up, and there's going to be a lot of stuff that we see going on right now. I'm strapping myself in, folks. You should too. Looking to see here. Tom Brady apparently used his Super Bowl 52 loss as a teaching moment. I'm not going to dive any further into that, but, do what you got to do. It's Tom Brady. I feel like he could use anything as a teaching moment. He can do whatever he wants with whatever he wants at this point in his career. So, hey, Martellus Bennett, I could see him landing with Philly just to play alongside his bro, because they're probably at that point in their careers where that's literally the only thing that they have left to do, right, is to play alongside each other. They're not exactly in the need or the market for a tight end, though, in Philly. They got Ertz. And that alone, I mean, he would be a great insurance policy, don't get me wrong. But I think he would probably pursue Philly more than Philly would pursue him. Like, hey, you guys just picked up my bro. Let's try to work this out. I can play, just fine. You know that. Cut you a deal, save you some cap space, whatever. I don't think Philly is going to pursue him despite having his brother. So my thoughts on the matter, again, I could be completely wrong. The Rams trading Ogletree to the Giants, my God. Poor Ogletree. Like, if you're Ogletree and you had this great gig with the Rams and you had the coach of the year, or so they voted for. He wasn't my coach of the year. Not my coach of the year. And now you go to the Giants where they don't even know who's going to be their quarterback next year. Man, it wasn't a free agency thing. He didn't sign a big fat paycheck. It was, hey, this is what's happening. Oh, like, ooh, that's got to sting a little bit. Allen Robinson's main focus right now is rehab. Yeah, That's good. Joe Thomas of the Browns aims to make decision on the future. Joe Thomas will let us know his future within the next week. The Browns left tackle reiterated Tuesday that he will tell the team whether he's returning or retiring before the start of free agency. Good on him. I've never liked the players that announce that they're thinking about considering the possibility of retiring, but as long as you set a date that's before the circus starts, I'm okay with that. And Joe's a cool guy. He gets a pass on this one, so I don't mind it. Where will they land? Man, free agency. I still think that Andrew Luck makes his way over to Denver somehow, some way. And I think Cousins is going to go to Arizona. Obviously, Eli's no longer going to Jacksonville because Blake Bortles got paid. I called that one. I said, AFC title game or bust. And they got to the AFC title game. And then busted, but Bortles still did what he needed to do, in my mind, to save his future with the team. And that's a tall order for any quarterback. It's like, you got us to the playoffs for the first time in, like, forever. And we're going to need you to win not one, but 2 games and get us to that third round at least in order for you to stick around next year. Like, wow. They were a 3rd seed. And his future probably was still in question heading into New England. Crazy. But anyway, it is what it is, and that is the headlines for today. Don't forget, we'll have plenty of Indoor Football League talk tomorrow with my not one but 2 very special guests. Very excited to have them on the show. It's going to be a fun one. You won't want to miss it. But today, it's Wednesday. We kind of play it loose, not too close to the chest. We have a little fun. We mix it up. So today, it's time for some Punk Rock 101. Kevin Lyman will join me. We will discuss in full detail why now for the final full cross-country tour of the Vans Warped Tour. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more of the Fan Show after this.
This is The Sheet.
Gets me all revved up. My face is now red. My ears are just freaking boiling.
He's so raw that Sky hates him.
Yeah, he had 51 touchdowns, 4,900 total yards.
I know y'all like that, but I got to run. And only in Alabama that could happen, I have to say.
They're so good, man. They would win the Big Ten if they were in the Big Ten.
You could be doing something vision-based in front of you and reach down and grab a handful of insane goodness.
Give it to him. Kudos. I'm clapping like a golfer. Very good, Johnny. I'm proud of you.
Wow. You guys agree on something again? I'm very impressed. You ever had a bad week? Just you walk outside, step in a puddle, like right when you walk outside. I mean, how's there a puddle right outside the house? Or you stand on the curb and somebody drives by and splashes water up on you? Or it's just raining on you, not anyone else?
I will tell you, before you go any further, I cannot hear Chad when he speaks.
Good. You're listening to The Sheet, man. I don't really know what we're doing.
Every Saturday morning, 8 to 10 a.m. right here on WBLZ Sports.
Whether it be your industrial, commercial, or residential needs, Gen Service is the electrical contractor for you. The Gen Service team has the expertise, commitment, and educational years to help you solve all your electrical concerns. They have you in their best interest with helpful suggestions to accommodate your every want. Give them a call, no matter the size of the job, at 740-438-7173. Mention WBLZ Sports, and you'll get a discount. That's Gen Service, 740-438-7173.
This is Nick Ficarelli, the mad scientist of sports. Join me and Dr. D, Derek Jones, live every Saturday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Pacific, for the Mad Scientist Sports Lab. The big intellect, the experiments on the chalkboard, and the guest subjects will be rolling in. Mad Scientist Sports Lab, only on WBLZ Sports, where we got balls.
Doug Peffer Painting and Pressure Washing. He has over 30 years of painting experience. He's interior, exterior, commercial, or residential. Doug Peffer covers it all. Is your house looking ugh? We'll call on Doug. Doug Peffer Painting and Pressure Washing, 404-966-3361. Mention WBLZ Sports and get a special We've Got Balls discount. That's Doug Peffer Painting and Pressure Washing, 404-966-3361.
Check out Thursday Night Tailgate, where NFL legends live on. We bring you 5 NFL legends every week, sharing their stories and insights, plus our spotlight on the positive. Hear which players are doing great things in their communities. Now on WBLZ Sports Talk Radio and WBLZSports.com.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and joining me is the man who attributed to so much of my teenage angst and adolescence. It is the founder of Warped Tour, making his return to the show, Kevin Lyman. How you doing, Kevin?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm doing great, actually. Settling in after the announcement and, booking some special guests and kind of figuring out a few things. Going to have a lot of fun this summer.
Yeah, and when I heard, I was shocked, to be honest, because you and I just talked probably this time last year. We were talking about the Warped Rewind at Sea. I said, is this like the future of Warped Tour? Like, what are your plans? And I feel like maybe the writing was somewhere in there on the wall, but here we have it, the final full cross-country tour. Now, is that wording specific for a reason, full cross-country tour?
I always like to keep things open-ended. I always have. I mean, going back to Japan in 2 weeks, we're doing a Warped Tour. It's been a few years, and I like to do things. I don't like to have to do something every year. I mean, we've done the U.S. tour obviously for 24 years. You're going to see some special things. I mean, we have some special stuff planned for the 25th anniversary. We're in discussions for something. Some things are firm, and some things are fluid. So, I'm realizing at this point in my life, I like to keep things pretty fluid.
Yeah, I know, and you and I talked about that as well, where you never really thought that this would be what it is, and I got to ask, why now? Like, how long did this process take for you to think, this is going to be it, at least for the foreseeable future, and how we do it as it is now?
I've been kind of prepping people for a couple of years. To be honest, I physically, it's getting harder to go out and work the way I do every year. I'm very involved in it. It's been getting physically tougher. The industry's definitely in a point where the community is going to have to figure out, how to rally around each other like we used to with the old punk bands. That sense of community, I feel, is suffering a bit. And I've been kind of warning people, kind of prepping them for it, and just decided it was time. I've got a lot of opportunities going on in my life. I'm still healthy enough and have enough energy to go pursue some of these other opportunities. And, I don't want to let kids down. I'm not leaving completely, but we're focusing, and we could talk about the F.A.N movement, the opioid movement that we just launched last week. I'm super excited about that and super engaged with that, and looking at an opportunity where maybe settling down to be a teacher for a while. So a lot of good stuff going on in my life.
Well, that's the important thing, and I know that you yourself and like so many artists and athletes out there that I talk to, they all kind of give the same response when it comes to retirement or calling it quits in some way, shape, or form. They say that your body, your attitude will tell you before anything else will. For musicians, it's like if I talk to several that say, if I ever walk out on that stage and don't get that tingling, in front of the crowd, then it's obviously time for me to start thinking about walking away. For athletes, it's a similar feeling. Like if I don't feel I can put 100% into this game, then it's probably time. But did you ever consider handing off the torch to anyone else that that you felt maybe was capable?
I thought about it for a minute, but why does it have to be the Warped torch? It's time for someone else. There's kids out there like myself. I was 31 when I started doing this tour. There's people out there, they could put a name on a festival. They can go do it. The Warped Tour's been my thing. I hope people are out there right now thinking like how they're going to start their own thing. Maybe it's time. And Warped Tour has taken a certain format, and it's kind of gotten, it's extremely, extremely the finances of the Warped Tour are very complicated to try to keep that ticket price fair and to try to bring such a big show. We all know that when you go to a club show now, you can be paying $30, $35 to go see a show with 4 bands on Warped Tour. So for us to move this around the country the way that I insist on doing it, with good catering and good sound and stages, it's just gotten a little unwieldy in the way that I wanted to present it. And maybe someone will figure it out. There's going to be people doing things. Maybe there'll be more tours. Maybe there's just going to be more weekend festivals. But it's time for someone else to figure it out.
Now, is this something where 10 years from now you could have like a final tour reunion tour thing? Like, I don't even know how that would work.
Oh God, 10 years from now, well, that would put some of my bands almost 70 years old.
Even better.
I don't know if they, the Rolling Stones maybe can tour at 70. I don't know, some other people I know, but who knows? It's going to be open ended. We had so much fun on the cruise ship. I'd love to do the Warped Cruise again. I've been talking to Sixth Man, and we're trying to figure out a way to make that happen at some point over the next year. You're talking to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame about reopening an exhibit there. Just doing a lot of really cool stuff. And like I said, I just don't want to be set to that format of I need to go on tour for 2 months to do this.
Yeah, I get it. And
I've been on the road. This will be my 27th, 28th summer in a row since Lollapalooza in 1991.
Wow.
That I've been gone for a whole summer. I put in some good time, and I will continue to put in a lot of time. I have more projects on my plate than I can even imagine right now. And I will, but it just won't be in that format of touring for 2 months each summer.
Well, nobody's summer vacations like you, obviously, and I think that there's nothing wrong with that, but teachers are probably pretty envious. So, I mean, hey, you're going to do what you got to do, and we're thankful, most of all, for what you've given us, over the last 24, 25 years. But perfect segue, you mentioned the cruise. I didn't get a chance to make it, really wanted to, but some stuff came up that we just couldn't flex it into our finances, but how was it, and what does the status of that look like as far as that being kind of a thing now?
It was amazingly fun. We had great people on, great artists. We had all the artists like Les and Jake at 303, and Good Charlotte and Simple Plan, and Bowling for Soup. All the bands that would hang out with the fans. I mean, there was no walls really between the fans and the bands, and the fans were so cool. The bands were just having such a good time. People would give them their space so they could eat food, and then all of a sudden, everyone's at a emo night dance party at 2 a.m. on the ship, not even realizing they'd been going to shows since 11 o'clock in the morning that day, and ending at emo night. It was just, you'd be hanging out with your friends, and bands brought their wives and girlfriends, and it was super fun. It was, the only problem was that we didn't give anyone a break, and people were pretty exhausted after 4 days.
Yeah, and like I said, I saw the pictures, and it looked like a great time. We were, bummed that we couldn't make it happen, so we're hoping that you do another one. Obviously, it sounds like that's a very real possibility. Now, putting together the final Warped Tour, obviously fans are going to have their picks for who they think not only they want to see, but who should be. And it looked like your Twitter, the Warped Twitter, took a little heat one day announcing bands that you guys had tried to get but hadn't really gotten on the same page with. Like, how hard is it to put something together like this that's going to be the last one, knowing kind of what you have made up in your mind as far as who you want?
Well, no, I didn't have anyone. I put it out to a wide net. Okay, it was put out to a wide net. Obviously, there was bands that I wanted to be a part of this tour really bad. Bands that their lives have been, their careers have been tied closely to it. Bands like Every Time I Die and Less Than Jake and Real Big Fish and some of those bands. And just announcing Pennywise yesterday, that was important to me for them to come back and play. That they're doing those 4 shows down in Florida with us. And then it was out there, and so. When, I think it got to this point where, Warped Tour is this thing where you have 500,000 people come to Warped Tour. 500,000, we've been trying to involve the fans of the tour, people who go to it, in the whole process. I don't think there's any other festival that communicates the same way that we do with our fans. And there's 500,000 people have their perfect lineup. So it's kind of like, I call it like almost like the NCAA basketball, March Madness grids, you're never going to make everyone happy. You just can't. And we talked to the bands, all the bands that kids are asking about, we talked to at some point. And whether they're touring on their own, they might be doing other, doing other tours. They might be in Europe. Europe, when we started Warped Tour, was not a big market for the whole summer. It was an early June, late August festival season. Now it goes all summer. Some people are recording records. So, and now people are calling. We're filling in some blanks. But I think it was one of those things, and some people took offense, but it was kind of like, let's take your expectations out, because there's also an economic side to Warped Tour that, to keep that ticket price where it's at, economics don't work for some artists and economics don't work for us.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. The last big concert that I was at was probably double the price of a Warped Tour ticket, and it was one of those super tours that went around to arenas, Blink-182, A Day to Remember, and the All-American Rejects. And I mean, I know exactly what you're talking about. There's bands that are getting the big money, and not that they would charge you the same, but it's kind of one of those you got to meet in the middle things, and you still want to keep the fans happy and the ticket prices as low as you can. So yeah, I get it. You are the master of this. You know what's going on.
Yeah, so we're going to have surprises. There's going to be surprises all summer. It's funny. In the last hour, I got 2 bands emailed me that were like, "Oh, you're going to play a show now? Well, it'll be fun. We'll do the best we can." But you know what? Warped was never about a specific band. It was never about one band or one. It was about a community. You came to explore music. You came to enjoy the day. If you're only into one band, and you're going to be disappointed if one band doesn't show up, they're all touring. You can go see them on their own. You can pay to go see them on their own, because pretty much every band comes through your town at least once a year now. So, that's that fan that really probably was never necessarily really the kind of a Warped fan, because they if you want to see one band, Warped isn't probably the place for you. But if you're there to explore music and community, and that's what it was started about, then that's what Warped's about. And you know what? We've got a great cross-section of bands. You'll be entertained. I mean, you look at that lineup, you couldn't watch all the bands if you wanted to.
Yeah, and I think that obviously, you make a great point on that about, well, if you don't see this band, you can just go see them on their tour. And, you can't please everyone. You're absolutely right. But yeah, truer words were never spoken, that it's about discovering music more than going to see your favorite bands. Because, I mean, how good do you really feel at the end of the day that you got to see like 3 of your favorite bands perform a 30-minute set? I mean, there's plenty of bands out there that could go for an easy 90 minutes. You go there to discover new and upcoming bands. That's why the sets are the way that they are.
Yeah, so it is Warped is what it is, and maybe it's with so many festivals out there and things, it's not. But I think we've had a strong reaction from the audience that I thought would get it this summer. They're looking at the lineup, so slightly there's some new stuff, but there's some nostalgia out there. It's going to be a day that a lot of people that used to come to Warped Tour will come back for this last one, and then a lot of people are saying, "I've never gone, so I'm going to go check it out."
Well, the last thing I'm going to bring up, and it's something that you probably knew I was going to mention because I live in Washington, the dates. There's a few states, a few stops missing. What happened with that, and will that change? Is there a chance it could change?
It won't. And, you hate to say it, but it's getting harder and harder. I don't know if you've noticed that getting up to Oregon and Washington, have you looked at, you're not getting all the shows you used to get up there.
No, we're not. We're not.
There's a whole lot of new laws about trucking and busing and how to get there. With everyone on the road, we used to be able to find cities like maybe Boise or Spokane or Sacramento, and some bands can still find a place to play there and make it work. But for a tour as large as Warped Tour, and it's a lot of times it's not about economics, but this one was definitely came into play because the amount of hours bus drivers can drive and everything there. We had to take 3 days out of Portland last year to get to our next show.
Wow!
And when you're on the road, you've got to pay everything for those 3 days: stages, buses, trucks, salaries, insurance. Everyone's being paid. And now with the new trucking laws, it would have taken us. We would have had an extra day, 4 days to get to the next show. And you being in a state, you could say, well, maybe you can get down to Salt Lake City. But you can't play Salt Lake City. You have to play there on a weekend, just like weekends, like Portland, Seattle always wanted a weekend. So to take those 4 days off, one with all these new rules, and it was just the sheer expenses of it. I mean, it cost almost $700,000 to take that time off last year.
Wow. Like, I'm not even mad, because I know how much
crazy.
Washington can suck.
And we love Washington, and that's what but you're also seeing in general, bands are skipping the Northwest right now.
Yep.
And I talked to a lot of people. They're not coming up there because those markets like Boise and Sacramento used to get a few shows every summer. Like when we used to go stop in Boise, it was a big deal when the Warped Tour came because we were one of like 20 shows they got each summer.
Yeah.
And now they had 124 shows there last time. There's 120 summertime shows there last year. So, you know, it was tough. It was a hard decision, but you're sitting there, and sometimes you have to sit there and go, all right, you know, we don't make that. It was a pretty tough summer last year, and it was just like that really hit us, you know, taking all that time off. You have hotels and everything to get, you know, people down to the next show. So, you know, I'm thinking that maybe someone will be smart. Maybe what I would do is if I was 6 or 7 of those bands, because you could do a mini Warped Tour, maybe go up there and then take a couple days to get down to the first show in Pomona. Maybe some agents are routing some shows up there right now. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and I looked at the closest stop for me then because I'm like, well, you know, I really want to be there. I feel like I need to because it was my first music festival, my senior year of high school, and that's how it all started. And so luckily, though, I do have friends and family in Phoenix, and they're definitely going. And so I'm looking at that date. Now, last year, I applied for credentials to cover the Seattle date, and then they said, sorry, you know, we're full. And I told myself, well, there's always next year. And now here we are next year, and now there's not.
If you hit me up and you can get down there, I'll make sure you're covered.
All right, because I would love to cover the Warped Tour to the best of my ability, sit down, have a conversation with you, and enjoy some punk rock the way that it's supposed to be.
Yeah, so if you can figure out how to get down there, and you can hit me up personally, and I'll make sure your credentials are handled. All right?
All right, Kevin, you're the man as always. I cannot thank you enough for your time here on the F.A.N. Show. Thank you again so much for all that you've done for the punk rock community and bringing the Warped Tour to us for so many years. I feel like a lot of people are sad and upset to see it go, but I just want to say thank you so much for being such a big part of music in my life and growing up and loving every bit of this tour. So, you know, until there is a next time, whatever way, shape, or form that is, thank you.
And thank you. Thanks for having me on, and have a good night.
You too, Kevin. Take care. Bye-bye. And once again, that was Warped Tour founder Kevin Lyman. I mean, it honestly gets you a little choked up that this could be it for the Warped Tour. And, you know, Spokane and Washington in general, they've been good to me. I was born here, raised here. The show originated here, so it's not like I can knock Spokane and Washington because it hasn't given me anything when it has. But what he talked about, that's exactly why everybody that is born and raised here tries to get out of here. Gonzaga going deep into the tournament last year, they had that hashtag of come home Chris or whatever his name was because he wrote this article about how Gonzaga was the last hope for Spokane. Now, I didn't read the article. I didn't really have to because everything negative in there got pointed out by everybody who took it like extremely personally. So then there was the hashtag that Spokane doesn't suck. And I don't think that Spokane necessarily does suck. It's kind of Washington as a whole because they put in place all these rules and restrictions, and I don't know why. You're so far away from everything else. You'd think that you'd want to do as much as you could to welcome and invite people in, and that's just not Washington's way. That's not. I've lived here my whole life, and things have only gotten stricter, and it's the most ridiculous things. Okay, we can smoke pot legally now, but I don't give a shit about that because it's not like we didn't do it before, you know? So I get it. And, you know, for Kevin to be honest and upfront about that, I commend him completely because he's dead on. You know, I hate being here, seeing all these big tours get announced and noticing that if you were to look at a map of the United States, that little corner, Washington, Oregon, Idaho, cut off. Pretty much might as well not even be existent when it comes to prepping and planning. And to hear that that's the kind of stuff that goes into this, I don't blame him because he's absolutely right. Now, Oregon, Idaho, they're a little different, but I know firsthand Washington, it's like, it kind of sucks. Like, Washington kind of sucks. There's a hashtag for you, but between the Gorge and Seattle, and people love Seattle, you know, maybe they think Seattle is enough to get people to come here, but obviously not because there was Taking Back Sunday and and who else just announced a co-headlining tour, and I looked at the dates, and of course, not a single Northwest date. And it's just like, whatever. The Used, same thing. So it is what it is, and you roll with the punches, but at least this gives me an excuse to go and visit some of my friends and somewhere else and go and enjoy the last Warped Tour with them, because I know that they're people that are really going to appreciate it. So thank you again, Kevin Lyman. Always a pleasure to have him on the show. I love that he's now a two-timer for the show, and hopefully it won't be the last time. Maybe we'll shoot the shit later on. But we're going to do one last quick commercial break, and then we'll wrap up this Wednesday evening. So don't go anywhere. We've got more of The Fan Show right after this.
You're listening to The Fan Show, your home for all things football and nonsense. My special guest tonight, Farouk. Farouk, welcome.
He's no expert, but here's the thing. Football and nonsense is what he brings. Sports talk with a twist. It's The Fan Show.
Do you know him as Kevin from the League? It is none other than very funny Steve Ranazisi.
99% of the population doesn't know who I am, but the 1% do. They yell and scream inappropriate things at me in public.
Kyle Ray. Kyle, welcome.
And I was like, wow, I think we just saw the whole Super Bowl, Phyllis. It's like that scene in The Simpsons, like, why rent the movie? I just saw the best part.
Funny man Brad Williams.
Yeah, I'm here. No, I flew in just for your podcast. I've heard about this podcast. I've heard it's fantastic.
It's Mac and Farva, but they are my special guests tonight. Steve Lemmy, Kevin Heffernan.
I was in Mexico for 10 weeks in a Speedo. Like, that was me going to work. I was putting on a Speedo.
Farva is the most fun to play, and it was a blast to do that again, to do Farva again.
So then the makeup artist had to put Vaseline on your body, right?
Yeah.
And then put the powdered sugar on top of that. Is your name really Richard Siemens?
Listen live every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night on Spreaker.com, or subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back to wrap up this Wednesday edition of The Fan Show. Great conversation with Kevin Lyman, and that's what I love most about the Wednesday episodes. I mean, pending the special guests' schedule and what they've got going on, Wednesday is usually that day, if I could not slur to wrap this thing up, that I can kind of do whatever I want. I know that every night is me doing whatever I want, but I do try to stick to at least a little bit of a kind of schedule. So for those of you that tune in every Tuesday night, you want to hear a recap of what happened over the weekend and Monday, of course, and we dive into that. We have some great guests, talk about what was and what is to come. Thursday, that's your preview, right? What do we got coming up this weekend? Well, let's talk about it. Let's break it down. Guests, we go over it, get you ready for your Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But Wednesday is always kind of that nice in the middle, like, what should we do today? And so I hit up Kevin last week, and I said, hey, really would love to have you back on the show, talk about the final Warped Tour. Are you free in the next couple of weeks? And he's like, I've got some time next week. What are you thinking? Well, if you want to pre-record, we could do this time, or this time. And if you want to be live on the broadcast, we can do this day, this time. He's like, let's do that day, that time. And I mean, that's just how cool some of these guys are when it comes to scheduling appearances on the show. A lot of people ask me, man, how do you get some of these guests on your show? You got to ask. You got to be willing to just ask, because the worst thing that they can say, in all honesty, is no. I mean, maybe no, get away from me, or no, are you crazy? But it's still, the bottom line is that they're just saying no. And they're not really the kind of people that are going to say no any worse than just saying no, because they understand that it could come back and bite them because of the power of social media. So, I mean, yeah, I've sent emails to celebrities, comedians, been like, hey, you think we can make this work out? No, sorry, either busy, we're booked, can't do it, or not interested. And that's fine. But you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And I take a lot of shots. So a lot of my day is made up of phone calls and emails saying, hey, let's try to get this done. So if you think that I've had some pretty good guests on and averaged them out over the course of the year, just think of how many emails a day I'm probably sending out to people to try to get them to be a guest on the show. Still got my bucket list and the guys to check off on there. Guys like Chris Jericho, Frank Caliendo, The Rock, of course, Travis Barker. So it's, I'm never satisfied with who I get on the show. I love having them, and I love being able to add them to my ever-growing guest list. but I still got my white whales out there, that I'm gonna go after. I'm gonna go hard, and we're gonna try to get them. But Kevin Lyman, just the fact that he's the founder of Warped Tour, which has been such a big part of my musical life, being in a band during the time of Warped Tour, it became one of those things where you wanted to play it, not because you felt like you had to, but you felt like you needed to. Like it was a rite of passage for an up-and-coming punk band to play the Warped Tour, even for just one stop, because from there, so many doors open. So when I was in bands, I was just like, hey, man, do you think we could get on the Warped Tour? Because it wasn't about like, this is the way or this is something that you have to do. It was you wanted to do it. You wanted to play the Warped Tour. And now that's coming to an end. What the future holds for music when it comes to festivals and up-and-coming bands, I don't know. But I think Kevin's totally right. It's sky's the limit, and it's somebody else's job now. And who steps up, I don't know. But he did the best he could for as long as he could, and he's awesome for that. So that's going to do it for this Wednesday edition of the Fan Show. I do thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget you can follow me on Twitter at FanShowOfficial. That's where I'm the most active, and I appreciate all of you that are following me. I get unfollowed, all day long. It is what it is. I want a genuine, real, authentic following, and I feel like I, for the most part, have that. And then when it comes to Facebook, if you like me, then like me. Go and click the like. Facebook.com/FanShowOfficial. Then we have the Instagram, which I try to get better about being on. That's simply The Fan Show. And then your home base for all things football and nonsense is thefanshow.com. Don't forget to check out Undisputed Belts, proud partner of The Fan Show. That belt is so gorgeous. It's going to make 2 more appearances. 2 more Fan Show Players of the Game shall be crowned this weekend. Stops 2 and 3. Iowa, Nebraska. It's on. I'm happy. I'm excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. Anytime I get a chance to interact with the fans, so much fun. Which I'll probably make a post about a few things that have happened this week regarding fans later that I'm very, very happy about. Very humbling feeling. So, home base for the Fan Show, all things football and nonsense, is thefanshow.com. And if you missed any of tonight's episode, well, shame on you. But no, seriously, I love you still. It's fine. You can miss an episode here and there. Just don't make a habit out of it. You can catch it in its entirety, uncensored but not live. And that is iTunes, SoundCloud, and of course, iHeartRadio in podcast form. Replays are aired the day after on WBLZ Sports. That's an app that you can download, listen to my show, and so many others that are absolutely fantastic in the realms of football nonsense and much, much more. And that is every day after the original air date at 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific. So tonight's episode, tomorrow, 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific, you can listen to it in replay on WBLZ Sports. And then don't forget Spreaker.com, which is where I broadcast from. That's got the archives of all the episodes, as well as the fanshow.com. You can scroll through there. SoundCloud should have a pretty long, lengthy history of the shows on there. But we're coming up on the 300th episode of The Fan Show. Tonight was number 285. April 11th, a Wednesday, is the projected air date for episode 300. The official episode 300, because I'm pretty sure I'm looking at used audio storage for my Spreaker account here. And it says 313 hours. Now, bear in mind, there was a stretch last season that Wednesdays were 2 hours long. So that, give or take, still, the official 300th episode of The Fan Show, not from when it was the Butt Fumble podcast, but The Fan Show will be April 11th, Wednesday. I'm thinking a 2-hour special would be a lot of fun, right? Bring on some of my favorites, the sports guy, James Lyman, Rob, right? Leveland Rob. And then I said, I'd love to have Mark Istook and Aaron Coscarelli. Both of them gave the thumbs up. So we'll see what we can do. I'm open to suggestions if you've got an idea for the 300th episode of The Fan Show, which that is the week after WrestleMania. So there will be football and plenty of nonsense that week, I'm sure. Then please hit me up, tweet me, message me, whatever you got to do. And then don't forget to tune in tomorrow night, last one of the week before stops 2 and 3 on the Fan Show Tour, preview of Week 3 in the IFL. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for listening. Thank you to Kevin Lyman. Best of luck to you and yours. Go Niners. And remember, of course, it's all fun and games until you butt fumble. Good night, folks.
Do you remember the time that Mark Sanchez ran into his player's butt? That was funny sports.
Thank you for having me on the show, man. I love the Fan Show.